Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Wow, I look a very strange color. Okay, that's better. Hi, everybody. Let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me in the chat. Hopefully you can. Perfect. Great. Thank you, everybody. Well, welcome to the February edition of the CMX Connect Madrid. I'm Valentina, one of the co-leads here. Seppi is also a co-lead, but unfortunately she is not able to join us this evening. So you just got me, which I hope is okay. Let us know in the chat where you are tuning in from. I always like to know where everyone is, and we usually have people from all over the world joining us. So let me know, and I will give a few shout outs to different countries, different cities that we've got. I'm based here in Madrid, in what I would normally say sunny Madrid, but it's not been that sunny recently, which I'm not really liking, but you know, that's what happens in winter, right? So yeah, let me know in the chat. So we have people from the UK, perfect. I'm originally from the UK. I'm sure we have a few of you from across the pond in the US, and maybe even some from the other side. I don't know which side it is. We've got Fort Worth, Texas, we've got Madrid people. Welcome. I'm glad that you was able to join us this evening. So as we get more people to join, I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro into CMX and the CMX Connect program. So CMX Connect is a local program by Bevy, and we're on Bevy Virtual right now. This is the platform they've built. So if it's your first time at Bevy Virtual, this is their virtual platform that you can also do conferences on. And this is a program to bring together community professionals, or community curious, as we like to call them, which is those of you that are not actively building communities, but you are thinking about it, it's something you want to do, to bring people together, usually in person at events in different cities around the world. Obviously, with the last year that we've had, most of us, or all of us actually, have moved online. And yeah, we've just been doing monthly events on various different topics to help people thrive as community professionals. So we've had things from podcasting to moderation, engagement. We've been talking about how to be resilient. We've had a few parties in there. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary last year. So every month we talk about something different. We bring somebody or a number of people on to share their insights and hopefully help you thrive within the industry and meet someone along the way. There are actually over 60 different chapters worldwide of CMX Connect. So basically in most corners of the world, you'll be able to connect with people that are in your country, in your time zone. And if there isn't one and you would like to start one, you can apply to be a CMX Connect host. Just go on to the cmxhub.com website and find the CMX Connect program, and you can apply there if you'd like to host events just like this. All right, let's just go back to the chat. We have some people from Casablanca, Morocco, Los Angeles. Wow, we've got people from all over. So, before we get started, many of you might be joining us for the first time, and if you are, welcome. Where have you been? And I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. So as I said, my name is Valentina. I am one of the co-leads here. I am a community manager. I started off my career with my little passion project, Eat Out Madrid, which is a community of food lovers that just love to eat out in the Spanish capital. And then that sprung into another one called Eat in Madrid, which is all about cooking. And now what I do, apart from those, is I'm also a part-time community manager for CMX and also a part-time community manager for Disciple as well. So I'm very busy. And I just love being able to connect with people on events like this, which is really what's helped me be in the position I am today. So if you're looking to advance, which maybe you are because you're joining this event this evening, feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm all over social media. You can't really miss me. Yes, and please share if you want to share your LinkedIn, your Twitter handles in the chat for others to follow you, please do. That chat is for you. In fact, I'm just going to go. Okay, so let's get started. I've got a little agenda to let you know about what's happening. So we're going to start off tonight with the member spotlight, which we're going to have Christina Sampson come and speak to us. Then we're going to move on to the main event, where we're going to have Katie Ray talking about how to move from a community hobbyist to a community professional in just 3 steps. Seems easy, right? And then we're going to do a little Q&A after that. And then I'm going to tell you about what's next and a wrap up. All right, so let's get started with our member spotlight. So this lady is originally from California and is a communications and design specialist for the United Nations. She is also the co-founder of the non-profit the restaurant Fusion, been living in Madrid 10 years. Please help me welcome Christina Sampson. She's going to come on and tell us a little bit about her community, and maybe some of you want to join it. So I think Christina is going to come on now. There she is.
Hi, thank you so much, Christina. Hi, nice to meet everyone. This is my first event with CMX Connect. Thank you so much for the lovely invitation. Yeah, just a little bit. I am the founder of a nonprofit called Madrid for Refugees, as well as a bunch of other communities as well. But Madrid for Refugees in particular was very interesting because I originally started a group for English teachers, and more than 5 years ago, there was people wanted to start volunteering and help out about the refugee crisis. And I started working with some refugees in Madrid. And from there, a new group was started, a Facebook group initially called Madrid for Refugees. And from there, we met in person actually many years ago. And it actually evolved starting from a Facebook post to a Facebook group to an in-person meeting, and now to a full-fledged nonprofit. And actually from there, one of our spin-off projects, we also have a restaurant with refugee chefs. So it's actually been such a full trajectory of the whole way that started from an online community. So the community's purpose is for helping, working with the local migrants, asylum seekers, and refugees that live in Madrid. We have now developed contacts with other nonprofit organizations, and we help them with skills building, training, integration into society. We offer classes such as language classes, coding, digital literacy. We also do donation drives and cooking and culinary events, fundraising, educational events. But we use our online community to actually find volunteers. So it's completely volunteer run. So people reach out to us and find us through our online communities to become a volunteer. Also very important for donations is actually we rent an office space. We actually pay one coordinator, and we have other expenses for transportation and logistics. And we use our community to reach out and educate the public, and just to keep the community involved and know what we're doing. So it's been such a journey, but really it's just started from a post to a community to a nonprofit, and everything kind of came together. So thank you so much.
Wow, that is a journey. Congratulations, Christina. Like, that's incredible. How far you've come since the beginning, from a small post. That's just the impact of community right there. I have shared the links to everything in the chat, so if you want to find out more about Fusion and Madrid for Refugees, check those out and see how you can get involved as well. So thank you, Christina, for coming.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
All right. Okay. Sorry, I'm like doing 30 million things here at once. Okay. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Yes, so every month we do have someone come on from our community. We call it the Member Spotlight, and it's just a great way to really highlight the amazing people communities at our events, because there's so many of us out there. Even though sometimes we feel like we're alone, there are so many of us out there doing the same thing, and there's so many communities as well. So we just like to bring people on to give you a bit more information. All right. Now, let's continue with tonight's event. And this is the reason why most of you are here, all of you are here, because you didn't know about the Member Spotlight. And we're going to be talking about moving from being a community hobbyist to a community professional, which I'm sure is on top of a lot of people's minds. It was definitely on top of mine when I started my communities. So I'm going to give Katie a little introduction. So Katie has held many titles in her career. She's spent time as a nonprofit president, underwriting volunteer, technical recruiter, salesperson, community enthusiast, mentor, and now community events and engagement manager at Sales Hacker. She has helped create and implement community engagement strategies, programs, and events for the community, all while attending graduate school full time. Can you believe it? Please welcome Katie Bray. All right, Katie is here. I'm like a machine tonight. There we go. Katie should be coming. Now, I want to say, before Katie starts to speak, if you have any questions throughout for Katie, there is a Q&A box at the top of the chat next to the word general. If you can put them there during the presentation, then when we get to the Q&A, I can just go straight to that area and go through your questions. You can also upvote questions. So if somebody has a question that you like and you want to get answered, you can just upvote it, and that makes it easier for me to see what questions I really want to get answered. So let's see. So hopefully Katie is able to turn on her camera and her microphone. Let's see. While she's doing that, I'll just come back to the chat to see what's going on. We have a question. Is Bevy ready to work as meeting tool instead of webinar tool? Just curious. Thanks, Valentina. I was in a presidential meetups in your co-working before COVID. Let me think about this. Yes, Bevy is ready to be used as a meeting tool. Sorry, I'm getting my words confused there. So yes, the answer is yes, Angel. And Katie is here. Hi, Katie.
Hey everyone. Sorry, we actually just did an event with Bevy maybe 2 weeks ago, and this was like my #1 complaint, is that little delay of trying to get someone to presenter mode, and then you think oh, maybe I need to just like retry again. And so anyhow, I'm so excited to be here, everyone. I know it is evening, if not probably my bedtime if I was in Madrid. But it is 1 o'clock in Texas. So I still have a lot of energy from today. So I hope that this doesn't jazz you up too much, but just enough. But I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be such a fun discussion today. I really want to make it as enjoyable, interactive as possible. I'm going to be sharing a lot of my personal experiences, so take them with a grain of salt. But I hope that I can either point to some areas that those of you who are wanting to go into community can kind of look at, get that little push for those of you that need just a little bit of extra nudge, a little love. And then for those of you who are already starting to take the right steps, to really encourage you and motivate you for what's going to happen. So are there any other announcements or anything else I should be aware of?
No, I don't think so. I'm just going to turn off my video so you can have the full screen, and I'll be around in the background if anything you need me for.
Okay, so we are going to, let's see here. Okay, can we all see this? Let's see. Perfect. Okay, so like y'all heard earlier, please, please, please don't hesitate to throw your questions into the chat or in the Q&A. I have no problem kind of stopping. I've got another computer over here to my right. So if I'm looking this way, that's what I'm doing, checking out for chats or anything like that. And please feel free to ask any questions. I'm an open book. So, but today, just kind of want to introduce myself. As you know, my name's Katie Ray. I'm so happy to be here. I am the Community Events and Engagement Manager at Sales Hacker. If you don't know what Sales Hacker is, you should definitely check it out. It is a community. We've got I think we just hit over 13,000 members, which is so exciting to be a part of. But our main goal is to enable, empower, encourage, and really come alongside sales reps, sales leaders, sales trainers, really anyone inside of a sales organization. We really want to make sure that our members feel as supported as possible, feel that they can come to us into the community for as much information, and especially for non-biased insights. It's really easy in the sales world to get everyone to share opinions and thoughts and really you name it. So we try really hard to make sure that our community members are getting the creme de la creme of any type of insight that they're looking for. So prior to my time at Sales Hacker, I was actually a field sales rep. So it made sense to go to an organization that supported sellers. But yeah, I had a territory of 7 states and I sold network infrastructure and did tech startup life, and it was really fun. But I always focused on volunteering. I realized with my job that, as probably some of you feel, it's really hard to feel motivated. Sometimes it feels, especially if you're not in the right place, right? It can be really discouraging. And so I always had some type of a volunteer, some type of like a side job or something that would really kind of check some of those boxes for me that helped me feel more excited about what I was doing and like I had a purpose. And so I knew, and I'll kind of talk about this a little bit later on, but I knew that I wasn't as fulfilled as I wanted to be. So we'll kind of go into that and how that plays a role in your process. I also have 3 beautiful Huskies. I love them all. We adopted all of them. We've got Nova, Ned, and Kai. So if at any time during this presentation, it sounds like dinosaurs are behind me, they're not dinosaurs, they're my dogs. So please forgive me, but they're the best. And then, yeah, I am in my 2nd semester of grad school, which is so much fun. I'm starting decision theory and managing innovation and change, and I'll be able to kind of show how that is actually really helpful in community. And so cool, we'll go from there. So today I like to break things up in 3s, make them really easy for y'all. The first thing that you are here to learn is, how do you figure out your why and how do you leverage that for your role going into community? And for those of you that are already starting those steps to be in a community role, how can you kind of take a little step back, reevaluate your why, make sure you're at the right spot for yourself? We're also going to really dig into, who do I need to speak to? And I know that sounds a little vague. We're going to keep it that way until we get there. And then the last thing we're going to focus on is practical and tactical next steps for what are you going to do once you're in that role, okay? So now that I'm here, what do I do? I know many of us, we've had that time in our careers where we say, ooh, maybe I'm a little over my head with this. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but we're here for it. So it's going to be great. And yeah, don't forget, throw your questions, throw anything in the chat. I'm going to be moderating it as well, so we can kind of get going. So the first thing we're really talking about, right, is what's important to you. Okay. As we jump into this, tell me, I want to see in the comments, what's important to you? Are you currently a community manager? Are you trying to get into a community? Are there certain aspects of community that you're most interested in? I'd love to hear from you in the chat. What about community? Are you about the relationships? Are you about enabling people? So don't hesitate. Here we go. Building an authentic community. That's so important, Deb, making sure that there's a lot of value. Trying to get into community management. Hey, coming from the sales path, I understand. Bringing people together, engagement. These are all really important things. For me, whenever I kind of made this transition into community, I spent a lot of time as a sales rep building relationships, and especially in enterprise sales, right? It's all about the relationship. And I realized that was so much more important to me than actually closing the deal. So don't tell any past managers. But that was really my thing. And that's where I saw with volunteering that I knew that there's something bigger and better for me to do. Not saying that anything's wrong with sales. I love my salespeople. But for me personally, that's where I really wanted to move forward. I'm just reading. We've got a lot of great. Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Cultivating organic contribution, building relationships, creating a space. Yes, creating a space for people to step outside. I love that. So whenever I looked at making a career change, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's okay. So for those of you, it looks like a lot of you are still wanting to get into community, but there could still be a lot of questions. It's okay. Have those questions. Spend time. Make a space for you to ask those questions of yourself and figure out what's really important, right? Here are some strategies that I utilize that help me go into the direction that I'm in now today. Is I spend a lot of time brainstorming. Okay. So our first step to making that transition into being a community professional, understanding what's important. How do we do that? We brainstorm, right? I sat down and I had a little sticky note next to me on my desk and just started writing what was important to me. What would I wish be different in what I'm seeing? I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn in addition to being in other communities. And what did I miss, right? For me, what was it that would have made a difference, that would have made me feel more included? What does that look like? And I landed on this word of community. And I grew up in the church, and I grew up with this idea that community is all about relationships and finding people to go through life and finding people who will encourage and challenge and motivate you. And that was this idea of community that I had. And so I said, okay, I've got this idea. I think I want this. Is this what I want? Right? What do I do? I think I want to eat pizza, but what type of pizza? I don't know. And so I spend time talking with my family and my friends. I'm so fortunate to have an amazing husband who is so incredibly supportive, and he really helped me figure out, do I want to stay? Do I want to go? What does that look like? What opportunities are there? And so I spent a lot of time in self-reflection, spending time with those around you who really know you best. That's going to help you kind of flesh out those ideas. And I do want to put a caveat on this because it sounds fun, right? I feel like I can make anything sound fun with all my high energy, but it's tough. It can be really hard to hear. Are you sure you want to do that? The grass isn't always greener, right? We've all had that conversation before. I remember talking with my parents, and I was like, I've been at this job for almost 2 years. I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like I'm having to do other things to have joy in my life. And I don't know. And this opportunity came up, and I said, this is a huge risk. And it was I think this is what I want. I've done some brainstorming. I've talked with people. What do you think? And my parents posed the question, is the grass always greener on the other side? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea. And so being willing to ask for opinions and thoughts always comes with that little caveat that you may not always like the answers. And if you don't like the answer, are you okay with that? Are you okay with saying, hey, I don't like your answer. I think I'm still going to go ahead with it, right? Do you have that much conviction of what you want to do and what's important to you to go that way? Okay. So I know a little heavy there, but it's important. This step is so crucial whenever we're looking at going into community, figuring out what's important to you. Why do you want to go into community? What do you want to see different? For me, I was so tired of seeing all these LinkedIn influencers all over the place And what about those of us who are doing our job in sales? What about those of us that wanted to make relationships and have people to go through our sales careers with, right? And I knew that at Sales Hacker, I would be able to really make a change and help provide a platform for people who are not just social media stars, but practitioners to share and engage with others and give back and ask for help and make it just a very positive, encouraging environment for those that want to really succeed. So I knew that that was incredibly important for me. Secondly, who do I want to talk to? How many of you, if you wouldn't mind, toss it in the chat. Are you in the interview process right now? Are you starting to go through an interview process? I know some of you said that you're just interested in joining chat. Let me know. But this step seems very vague, and we're going to spend a lot more time into this because I can't tell you what's important to you. I've given you 2 strategies, right? Brainstorming, asking your peers. Utilize those, dig as deep as you can, figure out what's most important to you, and then come to us, come to anyone that's in community and ask for our help in getting you to that next step. CMX does an amazing job with their job posting Slack and their boards, all of that. But Piper, congratulations. You got an interview scheduled for next week. This step is so pivotal, right? So now we know what we want to do. Okay. I spent my time saying, hey, I love what I do with sales, but I really love more of the relationship. I spent time brainstorming what is that one constant theme that's continuously showing up in all my discussions. What do I want to change, and how does that relate to that one theme? What do those around me think about this? Now that I know that, what do I do next? Right? And that's where we're at now. Who do I talk to? First off, who would get me an interview? Right? Sometimes it's just getting your foot through the door, having an interview. My story is a little bit funny. I kind of fell into community in some weird aspects. Not like bad weird, but in the sense of I had actually seen a LinkedIn post about how women, especially in sales, I think the statistics like 70% less likely to apply for a role if we don't check like 80% of the boxes or something like that. And I thought, oh my gosh, how true is that? You know, like I'm a risk taker for sure, but how often do I actually stop myself because, oh, you know, they want this and I just don't think I'm going to be what they want. Or, oh, I've done an interview for a role similar and this is the feedback and I'm just not what they want. And so I said, screw it. I'm going to try it. And if this is where I'm supposed to be, this will be the way it works out. If I'm really supposed to do this community thing, this is what'll work out. Right. And I emailed the head of Sales Hacker, so above my boss, and I said, hey, you actually posted this on LinkedIn. I totally agree with you. Because of that, I'm going to apply for this. And they said, okay, call so-and-so. So I did. I called my boss, and at the time, I was actually applying for a slightly different role. And my boss said, we really like you, but this role's not your thing. And I said, I know it's not. I told you I didn't check the boxes. But I thought maybe, you know, what the hell, I'll try it. We'll see what happens. And so we ended up having a lot of amazing discussions. And then it turned into, I think you might like community. I think that might be a little bit more about what you want to do. And I said, let's go for it, right? This is totally aligns with what I've been thinking of. I'm nervous as all get out. This is so far out of my comfort. I don't know, but we're doing this, right? And so it was amazing to have an open discussion. Like how many of us have gone through interviews where we felt like stodgy and like everything was really uncomfortable, to then go to an interview where your opinions and thoughts and ideas are so welcome, was incredibly crazy for me. So, you know, we figured out what was important to us. We figured out by brainstorming, we figured out by talking with our peers. We then figured out, who do I need to talk to? So how do I get my foot in the door? How do I get an interview? Like I said before, there's amazing job boards and job postings. Always check that out. But then also, what are you doing right now to build a community around you, right? So community is not just a platform. It's not just a place where people go to comment. It's the people that you surround yourself with. So who are you surrounding yourself with that's going to help you get to that next spot? Not just selfishly, but help you as a person, help you as a friend, help you as a mother or father, help you as a sales leader, a community leader, an HR leader, whatever you are. Who are you surrounding yourself with that's going to help you get to that next spot? And what does that look like? So for me, community can also be used as a network. Who are the people around you? Who's going to inspire you, encourage you, motivate you? I've been very fortunate to have amazing, amazing mentors. Like, I love my mentors so much. I send Christmas gifts. So if you ever want a really great mentee, I'm kidding, but I just adore my mentors. And I had one at my last role. He was the best. And then I have one from Girls Club, which is a management training program, check it out, that I still keep in touch with. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for them because they both helped me with this transition. And I'm eternally grateful for them because really surrounding yourself with people, surrounding yourself with that community, with your network, that's really going to challenge and encourage you. Honestly, that is the key to your success in community, right? If you can't build relationships with people, probably shouldn't be in community. If you love to build relationships with people, if you love to be encouraged, if you love to have your thought processes challenged, because let me tell you, every single day in community, what you think works is going to go right out the window and you have to try something else. If you love that, then this is for you and your network will show that too, right? So think about that. Okay, so we've thought about what we want to do, why we want to do it, what's important to us. We figure that out by brainstorming. We figure that out by talking with our peers. We've now established, okay, I want to go down this path. I know exactly who I want to interview with because of the CMX job boards, because of the network that I've created. They've gotten me an introduction, whatever that looks like. And then the third part is being willing to go through the process. So, or I guess the second part of who do you talk to is being willing to go through the process. I love processes. I'm a huge fan of processes. I'm a huge fan of to-do lists. They make me so happy. Despite what my developer will say, I really love processes. Now, sometimes my processes are a little loosey-goosey. They're not as rigid as what you may think processes should look like, but I love them. They make me really excited. I love going to an interview, having a stellar call, being so excited, feeling that other person's passion, feeling passion myself for what I'm about to embark on, figuring out, hey, what are my steps going to look like, right? I know what I want. I know who I need to talk to. I've gotten the interview because of the people in my network. I'm at the interview now. And oh my gosh, there's like 8 more interviews. No joke. I literally interviewed with almost every single person on the Sales Hacker team. And I was exhausted. And those of you that are looking at this role from sales, you know. And those of you who aren't in sales, here's a little background. A lot of sales roles will have you go through like 4 interviews and then have you do a presentation or a product pitch and sell these people, sell your future managers on the product that you've never been trained on, right? So that's fun, not really, but that really prepared me for this process. And one of the things I loved most about my interview process was it was just one-on-one, and it was a relaxed discussion. Now, I know it's not going to be the same for everyone, but I was so fortunate to have already talked with some of the people that I had interviewed with, just through natural passing. But also, one of the coolest things about my interview process, and for those of you who are about to go through this process, look for this opportunity. One of the coolest things was that my now manager said, hey, I have a little project, which of course, back to sales, a little PTSD. I was really worried. But he said, hey, I've got a little bit of an idea. Tell me, create a little presentation on what you would change about Sales Hacker. So you can imagine how stressful and scary this was, because I thought, oh crap, like I know exactly what I would change, but also I don't have a leg to stand upon. I've never done community. These are all things I feel are good ideas, not necessarily things I know. And I said, sure thing, no problem. This is great. So I spent about a week and a half interviewing, creating this presentation, going through this presentation with my boss, and having an amazing discussion about what this could look like. How do we implement this? Timelines, all these things. And I knew at that moment that this is where I was supposed to be, that I was exactly where God put me to be. I knew exactly what I wanted to accomplish, exactly how it would impact people and encourage them. It was amazing. So for those of you who are about to go through the interview process, ask for that. Ask for an opportunity to show them what you would do differently about their platform. Ask for an opportunity to say, hey, I think this might change, and because of that, here's what you could probably expect to see differently. Got to put a little bit of a sales hat on instead of a marketing hat on this, okay? But ask for those opportunities to highlight areas that you could kind of tweak and change in the first 30, 60, 90 days, right? I was really fortunate coming from a sales background that I could say, hey, here's what I would implement 30, 60, 90. Here's what to expect. And because of that, no joke, my manager, he's awesome. He messaged, I remember this so clearly. He messaged me, I know, a couple weeks in, and he said, I don't know why I was surprised that you just jumped in head first. And I was like, I don't know why you were either, because I told you in my 30, 60, 90 in the interview that this is what was going to happen. So I didn't know why you expected anything different. So take that as a lesson. If you're going to ask for that opportunity, pardon my language, but you sure as shit better stick to it, because they're betting on you actually accomplishing that in your 30, 60, 90. So think about it, okay? Another important part is the application, okay? What are you going to take from the interview, and how do you actually apply it to what you're going to do in your role, right? 30, 60, 90 day project, trying to show how I'm thinking about all these great things that community can do. I take what I heard, what was important during the interview from our managers, right? And I implemented strategies or created strategies that I could implement with timeframes to accomplish those goals, right? That's amazing, right? But all of this means nothing without that application. You could spend forever in a day planning out what's important to you, creating lists, putting whatever chalk paint all over your room and writing everything about what's important. But if you don't sit down and apply, and if you don't actually do what you say you're going to do, that means nothing. All of it was for nothing, okay? So the next part, right? We've spent time figuring out what's important because we've brainstormed, we've talked with peers. We've spent time thinking about, who do I talk to? Who do I get an interview from? Who in my network can introduce me to someone to interview? How do I go through this interview process? What could I ask to get myself a little step above? How do I actually apply it, right? Now, this is where I think everything kind of bubbles up, right? We've been on this little little walk up the volcano, and this is where the volcano bubbles over. Are you willing to learn? For me, I had a huge learning curve. I went from somebody who spent time in community, saw what I liked, saw what I didn't like, but it's a lot more than that. It can be a bit of a reality check because you go from, oh, this sucks, I would change that, to realizing there's processes, which, you know, I love, but there's like a lot more to it than what you would just normally think. It's not just how I feel about it, but it's, have I spent the time to listen to my community members, right? Have I spent the time to listen to my community members to hear what they would want differently? So I'm going to give you a few things in this section. So take notes if you are. The first, I would love to see in the chat, how many of you have spent time learning about community? Where do you go? What are some options that you've looked at? Has anyone looked at any of the CMX learnings? There you go. Yes, David does a great job. Fever Bee has really great courses. Has anyone done anything with other community leaders? Have you joined a community cohort? I know that there's an amazing one that we're starting to build out on CMX. I unfortunately missed the first session last night. I'm so devastated. But yes, connecting through the chat. Community Club by ComCert, love it. I actually got an amazing book from them, and I'm super excited to buy a sweatshirt from them. Yeah, CMX classes, great. Yeah, Valentina's an amazing consultant. So there's a lot of resources, right? There's a lot of opportunity for you to learn the practical and tactical and strategic initiatives. But how do you get that relational aspect? I am a huge fan of mentorship. Like I said earlier, I've been so fortunate to have amazing mentors in my life. And I know that's not something that everyone gets. So spend some time, check out the CMX Slack, ask somebody for coffee, you know, go the extra mile, send them a $5 Starbucks card, whatever. But ask somebody, get their opinions, get their insights, learn from their experiences. I'm a huge fan and a big believer that everyone has different experiences, obviously, but everyone has different experiences. And whenever you share those experiences, what you learn from it could be so different from everybody who's listening to you, right? So be willing to listen and to hear. Whenever you're asking for mentorship, don't be afraid to ask. Okay. I know for me, that was one of the scariest things. And I was lucky that I was kind of thrown into a mentor program. But for the longest time, I really struggled with how do I become a mentee? What do I have to bring to the table, right? I know nothing. That's why I want a mentor. I want to learn. But what do I bring to the table? I have no idea. But being willing to hear and being willing to ask questions and come prepared to my mentor discussions, that was so much positivity for me. But hearing that my mentor learned something from me, learned about a different perspective, learned about either a different way of doing a certain tech or whatever, right? Just the little things that I would think are nothing to some of our mentors, like, oh, surely they know this. They may not. So don't ever underestimate the ability of what you know, and be willing to share it, because there's always somebody that doesn't know something that you do. Okay. So just my little soapbox. But yeah, ask for mentorship. I also think with learning, you need to be agile. Not only in how you learn, because there's going to be different mediums that you're learning from: video, messaging, calls, text, emails, LinkedIn, whatever, right? But being able to move quickly between pieces of content and being thoughtful at the same time is really important as you're trying to consume all this information, because it's a lot. Be kind to yourself. You don't need to know everything at once. Find a great mentor that you can go and brainstorm with later on. But I think my number one piece of advice as you're going through this process of learning and application, right? Because everything we take, we want to be able to apply in some capacity, is to really receive the insights that you are getting. Whenever you're asking for feedback, when you're asking to brainstorm, when you're asking your mentor for advice, when you're asking in the Slack channel, anytime that you're asking for advice, insights, feedback, suggestions, whatever it is, how are you actually listening, right? So how are you actually receiving what you're hearing, and how are you applying it? Think about that, because there's nothing more exciting as someone who has mentored or is currently mentoring, as someone who has given advice, than to see that advice be used and to get feedback, whether it went well or not. So whenever you're asking for all this advice, don't hesitate to message that person back and let them know how it went. Because honestly, we really do want to know most of the time. Sometimes we're like, ugh, this person was a mess, we don't want to deal with them again. But that's very rare, so don't worry about that. Yeah, and kind of with being agile, as we're learning about our communities, as you're now in this role, right? We figured out what we wanted to do. We figured out how to interview, who to interview with, how to provide ideas of what you're going to do. Now that we're understanding what we need to learn to be successful, since we're in the role, learn about your community. And the number one way to do that is to ask your community members, right? The community that you're in is not about you. It's not about what you think is the best thing to do. It's about asking your community members for their opinions. What would make it a better experience for them? How do you make it a really flawless and inviting opportunity for discussion, if that's what you do, right? Every community is built different. Every community has a different vision, mission, values. But make sure that whatever piece of insight that you're getting from your members aligns to what's important to the community, right? Not what's important to you, but what's important to the community. So be willing to get to know your members, be willing to learn and hear from them, be willing to implement feedback quickly, be willing to show that change, whether you have an insiders program, a VIP program, whatever, and that's where a select few are able to learn about different features you're rolling out, give feedback, whatever that looks like. Be willing to ask for that and be willing to move quickly and efficiently. So I know we're kind of getting towards the end of my little session, because I know we still got stuff later on. But to kind of wrap up, we've talked about a lot, right? We've talked about 2 different strategies to help you really understand your why, right? We've talked about using that excitement from understanding why you're doing what you're doing or what's important to you, why you want to change things, to get into discussion with future interviewers, to get into discussions with your network to help get you that next step up into an interview. We've talked about during the interview process, leaning into the process, leaning into the excitement, leaning into sharing what gets you excited every day, sharing why you want to do this, sharing your passion for it, right? Lean into that. We talked about the different processes that can be happening. We talked about how to ask for an opportunity to show your interviewer that you are invested in this by providing a 30, 60, 90 plan. Now we just finished up talking how you can learn different opportunities for learning, whether it be mentorship, CMX, Slack, Feverbee, other communities, you name it, right? We also talked about learning from the most important stakeholder in your community, which is your members, right? And then we also talked about how to really understand and hear the feedback that you're getting and be willing to make changes around it. So with that, I guess we can kind of go into some questions. Let's see here. Okay, we've got a great question from Karen. I'm not looking to take on a role as a community manager for an outside company, but eventually I might want to bring someone on to help me manage and moderate my travel community. That is super cool, which is built to make connections with my audience, potential clients for my business. What kinds of things should I look for in an applicant? I would love to hear. What do you guys think? Throw it in the chat. Well, if you're hiring for someone in a community type role, what are you looking for? For me, I would be really focused on, are they willing to work hard? Are they willing to support others? I am not always a big fan of having like requirements around certain years of experience. Because I think what one person may learn in 1 year could be different than what one person could learn in 5 someplace else. So I'm never really like a super big fan around that. But I really think making sure that they're willing to help, and that's a big priority for them. And you can tell when you talk with people, like how passionate are they about things. Like for me, I am like so jazzed up about community. I love what I do. I love who I work with and what I get to learn every day. But you can really tell those that are excited about what they do. From there, kind of figure out what you're looking for. Figure out, do you want somebody that's great at doing more admin versus someone that's great at doing more relationship focus? And good. Yeah, there's good questions in here. Empathy, adaptability, willingness to learn and try, actively engage, encourage activity. I love that. Another question, how do you value community management when speaking with potential employers or if doing a proposal for a client? I've struggled with offering a ton of tasks and willingness to learn, but I've experienced that the pay isn't in alignment with the time commitment. To be more clear, what is the average salary of a community manager? So that when I speak to people and say $4K per month, is that the standard? I feel some are not seeing the importance and have been told people are only paying a few hundred a month. Ooh, US, and expect full-time support. Run away from that. For those of you that have seen me on anything else that I do for salespeople sequence reviews every other week with Jeff Swan. And I'm very straight to the point on certain things. If they're only willing to pay you a couple $100s a month for full-time community support, run away from that. I'm sure CMX actually probably has like a budget type document. If anyone has that, maybe toss that into the chat. I feel like that's something that they would probably have of like standard salaries based on location and role, stuff like that. Yeah, I would definitely run away from that. That's really concerning. I also think it really depends on like, what are they really wanting to accomplish? I posted this on LinkedIn today. I do something called Community Wednesdays where I just try and take like one little golden nugget, I guess, that I see really correlate or like really have a lot of overlapping themes between sales and community. And the thing today was talking about really understanding why, not just with your customers, but with your members, but then also your stakeholders. So why do they want this? Well, what does that mean for them? Okay, and then what, right? So really understanding what they're actually wanting to accomplish, I think could get you into a position where you could really start to negotiate more, because there's community, I think, is still fairly new in the sense that like online communities, right? Not community in the sense of like building relationships and finding a tribe and that, I mean, that's right, tale as old as time. But I think really like online communities, customer communities, and like really making them a separate part of the business, I think is a bit newer. So there's still a lot of buy-in that people need to participate with for now. It's gonna get better. It's just gonna take a hot minute. So yeah, average salary though, if somebody has a link to it, I feel like there has to be a document. If not, message me on LinkedIn, Deb, and I'll try and find one, or message Valentina, because I'm sure there's a document. They have stuff like this for everyone all over the place. Okay. What are some of the questions we should be asking to the leaders of the companies we're applying to if they're starting a community department or hiring the first community manager? So one of my biggest questions to ask is, what are they wanting to accomplish? For me, one, I want to know that because I want to make sure it's something that I can actually do. Nothing's worse than signing up for a job and you can't do what you signed up for. So always good to ask, like, what are they wanting to accomplish? Why is it important to them? What does that mean for their business to have a successful community? Always asking about the process for getting approval, right? Nothing's, so frustrating when you're like, oh yeah, this company is so agile and it's great and it's all these things and you can get things approved so quickly. And then you try to go and do it and there's like 15 layers of red tape that you're having to cut through. So figuring out, what is the process for getting approvals? What is the process for getting platform changes? Do you have a platform in mind, right? Because some of you may have preferences on platforms, and want to make sure that whatever you're hitching your trailer to now, you could actually scale later on. I'm sure there's probably a lot more questions in the chat of what are some good questions to ask. But I can also probably find an article too. But those are just a few that I would ask is, why do you want a community? What's that going to do for your business? What is the level of agility whenever it comes to getting things done and accomplished? What does that look like? Do I have a developer team? How quickly are you wanting to grow this? What does success look like? Oh my gosh, I should have started with that question. What does success look like? That I think is king when it comes to questions. What does success look like? I know we only got 5 minutes, so I'll answer these last two. What to do, lists, apps, tools, processes do you recommend for community managers to stay organized, be more successful? We use Asana. I'm a big fan of it. I also am, and this comes from my more salesy side, I'm also a really big fan of time blocking. In sales, it's called call blocking. And that's really where I just go onto my calendar and I just block out hour chunks of my day. And sometimes I'll go through and, list out what I'm wanting to accomplish. Other times, let's say, so I also run our like live events, so our webinars. I had an abstract that I needed to create yesterday off of a call I had. So I went into my calendar, created a time, and then locked it in there and said, okay, cool, at 10 o'clock today, I need to have this abstract done. So I'm a big fan of utilizing that. But as far as like team projects, Asana is a super great tool. I'm sure there's more, but those are really the two I use. How do you navigate building free versus paid communities? Oh yeah, Notion's really cool too. That's fun because you can add cool pictures and stuff. Don't mind me. So the last question, how do you navigate building free versus paid communities? I'm not really sure what you're asking as far as like if there's like a different management style. Honestly, I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know. So I always like to kind of keep that as a caveat. For me, Sales Hacker is a free community. One of the challenges with that is we have a lot more lurkers. So those are the people that just kind of hang out. They don't ever really comment. Maybe they read more articles, maybe they read our newsletter more, maybe they attend our webinars, but they're not really engaged or involved. And that can be like very frustrating sometimes, because it's like, if I had a paid community, maybe people would take it more seriously. Maybe they would be a lot more involved, engaged. It really just depends. So, yeah, that's all the questions. I think Valentina's probably going to hop back on. I know we've only got a little bit of time left. So I hope that was helpful, everyone. I don't know. Let me know.
It was really helpful, just from my own perspective, and I'm sure we'll see in the chat from everybody else that it was helpful. Let us know. You shared so many different tips and tricks that, you know, a lot of these things you can implement straight away, which is really good about it. I'm a big advocate of personal networking and growing your base of community managers as friends, as mentors, as potential, you know, people that you go to ask for a job, or they might know someone who has a job available. So yeah, thank you so much. It was there's just so many different ideas in my head right now. Just go
all the things. Welcome to a little sneak peek of my brain. There's always a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of energy. So only like 60% of the tasks actually get completed.
Well, you know, I read a quote yesterday that said, progress over perfection. I was like, yes, because I'm a perfectionist, and sometimes I go towards that direction rather than just the progress part. And if it means not completing everything, as long as you're making progress, that's what I got from it. So, well, thank you again so much, Katie. This was just so helpful, and I think everyone has been able to take something away from this. Let us know in the chat what one thing you're going to take away from Katie's presentation today on going from a hobbyist to a community professional. I don't know how you've done it whilst also like studying full time. You have 3 dogs.
I love it.
And yeah, I can just imagine your brain just going like in overdrive all day long.
All the time.
Perfect. Well, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do it?
Yeah, so the best way is LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on there. And you can always Slack me too on the CMX Slack. I also spend a fair amount of time on Clubhouse, so we can always jump into a Clubhouse room or get on a call. And if I can ever help or point you in the right direction, you know, I'm always here, so don't ever hesitate to reach out.
Perfect. I'm just grabbing your LinkedIn to share in the chat so that people can go ahead and connect with you now. And if you haven't tried out Clubhouse yet, it seems to be like the newest trending thing. I don't know if it's new, but it's audio chat, so no video, so you don't have to get ready for the camera, which is great. And there's so many different chats going on about so many different topics. It's unreal. So yeah, thank you again. And yeah, can't wait to see everything that you're posting on social. I mean, that's a full-time job in itself, just keeping it on social media with everyone's posts and things like that. But no, thank you. Please give Katie a big virtual round of applause in the chat, everybody, for coming on today and sharing everything with us. And yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Have a great one.
All right, before we wrap up today, I just want to tell you a little bit about what's happening next, because we always end our events with this. If you have to go right now, thank you for coming. But we're going to be doing our next event on March 10th. Seppi will be here. We haven't decided on a topic yet, but it will be on Wednesday, March 10th, around the same time, 7:30, 8 p.m. If you do have any ideas for topics, let me know in the chat now, or you can reach out to me anyway, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Slack, you know, I'm around everywhere. And if you want to be more social, there are lots of ways to stay in touch with CMX. You can use the Slack channel, the Community Manager Slack channel. There's the CMX Hub Facebook group if you're not already part of that. Don't forget to check out the CMX Hub website, which has the jobs board, which has blog posts, which has CMX and Chill videos from all of the summits that have been up until now. And also, yes, there's podcasts as well. There's the Community Corner podcast with Beth, which is a Bevy podcast, or the Masters of Community with David Spinks. So lots of ways that you can get involved and just learn a little bit more about what's happening in the industry, and yeah, just connect with more people, because we all need people around us, especially now, even if we can't be in person together. So that's it from me. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time out tonight to come, or this morning or this afternoon, to come and join us. Thank you to Katie, thank you to Christina, and I will see you next month, March 10th, with Seppi for our next CMX Connect Madrid event. Now, you will get a little survey sent to your email either today or tomorrow. If you could just take a few minutes to answer that, that would be really helpful. That helps us plan our future events. That would be great. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you very soon. Bye for now.